Welcome to Skydie's episode entitled Introduction to the Paranormal. Thank you so much for joining me once again on your journey to the paranormal. Along the way, you will soon discover that for me, paranormal is a passion. Knowing that I can share this with you is more than I can ask for. Before I tell you about the different hauntings, I'd like to start by telling you that I will be comparing the spiritual side of the paranormal to our everyday life. I think that is one of the best ways to start making you understand that there is nothing to fear. I often think of the paranormal as a way of parallel living, but in a spiritual sense, of course. I'll give you an example of what I mean. I could take any kind of job or career, but let's go on a medical level. So try to imagine you have a chart in front of you with 4 columns. To make it easier for you, you may pause this video and draw up a chart with 4 columns, each column with the titles I will be giving you right now. First column is personnel or staff. Second column, solution. Third column, the equipment. And fourth column is for research. In the first column under the medical staff, you have doctors and or specialists, nurses, technicians in a lab. In the paranormal, you have investigators who replace the doctors. You have mediums or psychics who replace the specialists. You have priests or shamans or other tending to the healing, and so on and so forth. Under solutions, well, in the medical field, you have medication, such as pills or syrups or whatever treatments. In the paranormal, you have protection, prayers or direct requests to leave the premises or the person, like an agreement in between the living and the spirits to coexist together. As for the equipment, well, in the medical field, you have x-rays, scanners, stethoscope, MRIs, etc. In the paranormal, you have cameras, EVPs, REM pods, FLIR, which is like an MRI or more like thermography, etc. And then in both fields, medical and paranormal, you have research. In the medical, research about symptoms, the cause of the ailment, the cause of the problem. And the paranormal researchers are the ones who research in the archives, history, analyze all results from the investigation taken by the equipment as to know the cause of the problem. Just like in the medical field, and so on and so forth. As you can see, we live and go through the same thing, be it in the medical field, or as I call it, the other side for the paranormal, spirits and all. I was asked once if it's true that there are bad spirits. My answer? Yes, absolutely. Just like in the living, we have bad people, criminals, who could be quite evil on different levels. Well, once again, same thing on the other side. Bad people exist, evil spirits exist. And that is why you must be careful. Always. Just like when you decide to go for a walk alone late at night. I think it is fair to say that you are asking for trouble, especially if it's a big city. Same thing on the other side. When you call on the spirits, you don't know who you will contact. So you might be asking for trouble there too. And side note, as far as I know, no one can openly or honestly say they know it all in the paranormal. Just as a doctor cannot say openly or honestly that he knows everything. And that is why we have what I refer to specialists in their own field. So, as you can see, our everyday life really is very similar to the other side. I do specify the word similar because there is one difference right now, and that is a doctor's patient is visible, while our spirit patients are invisible. Yeah, I'll give you that one. But again, keep in mind, they can be visible to some of us. So we cannot say they are totally invisible. But of course, as you already know, some of us are able to see them. And maybe along the way, maybe you will be able to see them too. Maybe you already have that special gift. You'll soon find out as we go on. Remember, not because you cannot see them that they don't exist. Believe me, they do exist. Again, you'll understand as we go along. Just like oxygen, the air we breathe, you don't see it, but it certainly does exist since you are able to breathe. Now, you know why paranormal is so hard to believe. Because too often, unfortunately, certain events or messages coming from beyond only reach out to some of us. And sometimes it can reach out to you and you don't even know it or recognize it. But I'll give you some hints or clues that might help you out when we get to other episodes. Right now, you need to know the basics, the ABCs of the paranormal. By the way, I would strongly suggest if you could practice meditation, and you'll understand later on why I say that. If you don't know how, I'm sure you know someone who meditates to show you. If not, I'm sure you can find a short video on the internet that could teach you. To give you heads up, in the last class of my level 2, I teach them how to practice seeing someone's aura, among other things. Everyone is born with a gift, a psychic gift. And I try to teach different kinds of psychic abilities since we are all different. And then, further down the road, you'll most probably be able to discover which one is appropriate to you, which one calls on to you. There are so many different ones. I'm sure at one time you will recognize yourself. You will recognize that one specific ability that will reach out to you. Now that we have covered the similarities, we will get to know about the different hauntings. I'll just name the common ones. A house can be haunted, where an unfortunate event might have happened in the past. But keep in mind, not because hauntings happen that they are all negative. Not at all. Some are very peaceful, some very protective, some could be negative if in that house you had a murder or suicide or some tragic event, and some could emit sadness, and so on. Now, a property can be haunted. Very often you would see that when an old property belonged to, for example, to a very ancient Indian tribe. In this case, you would need a shaman to help release that energy. Or sometimes you'll hear about the Gettysburg War, which was fought on land, a property, and so on. A town could be haunted. For example, back in the wild, wild west, where you had a lot of action in a small town or village. For example, while investigating, you could hear gunshots or screams or the horses going by. Those are but a few signs of hauntings. A person can be haunted, either by being possessed or simply a spirit adopted, so to speak, the person. The spirit will follow that person all his or her life, or a good portion of it. In this case, the spirit can be very protective. When a person is haunted, not only, as I just said, that the spirit is always with you, but a person's personality can change. Or sometimes that same person can hear a voice, not knowing where it comes from. Unfortunately, if you tell that, I have to tell you, if you tell that to a doctor who is a non-believer, you'll end up in a psychiatric ward or on medication for schizophrenia. I am not saying that everyone who hears a voice is normal. No, but not all patients who are in a psychiatric ward has some kind of a mental problem or disability. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, not because you don't see it or don't hear it that the spirits are not there. So one can hear it, but not the other person. I'll give you another example. True story. A teenager had a spirit that followed her all her life. Later, she went to college and lived in those dorms on campuses. Anyway, long story short, she met with friends one evening. They talked and joked about. But then, some of those teenagers started mocking the girl who talked about her spirit. They mocked and teased her. Well, next thing you know, the spirit got angry and objects in the room started flying all over the place. Some cell phones on the table were thrown into the air with force. In my introduction video, my very first video, the previous one, I had mentioned never mock a spirit. Always be respectful. As I said, you may not be able to see them, but they can definitely see you. Needless to say, it scared the bejeez out of those kids. I'm sure next time they'll think twice before doing that number again. A child can be haunted. Another example I'll give you. True story. A friend of mine told me about her nephew, who was always scared to go to bed at night. He kept saying that he was seeing someone or people in his bedroom. But the parents kept telling him, no, there isn't anyone. Suffice to say that she was asking for my help. I told her what to do, and ever since, everyone has had a good night's sleep. Told my friend he had to express his feelings toward that spirit, make them understand that it was his room and that he is the one who requested that they not be there anymore. Next one, a simple object can be haunted. Take, for example, the doll, Annabelle, or the doll, Robert. Could be any object. Mirrors. For me, mirrors are fascinating. They are actually a portal to the other side, or from the other side. They are the reflection of oneself, or the reflection of an event that might have happened. As a portal, spirit can leave or enter by a mirror. By the way, never put two mirrors facing each other. Bad move. And last but not least, and we will end with this, you can have a residual haunting. A residual haunting is a repeat from the past. But that will be part of the next episode when I will be talking about the different entities or spirits. Talk to you then.